You know, that's why you get into fights.
But we talked about this. This was an ugly fight.
Well, let me just put it this way to you. The Russians sent his players on. And their whole players were out there. We had 5 guys out there, 6 guys out there, and say about 18 guys were beaten up in 5. What would you think of Bert Templeton? He had to send the guys on. The team that goes on first is a team, I've always said this in the National Hockey League too, I've always said this, the team that goes on first should the team that should really be racked.
All right, we're going to see a highlight. Hold it for just a minute, fellas. Don, I'm not laying blame because we weren't there. What I am saying was this was a vicious fight. The officials were out of control. I'm surprised someone didn't get hurt.
Well, yeah, I know, you saw all that they're fighting and everything, but as you saw, most of the guys had their gloves on. I mean, some of them didn't know, the Russians didn't know how to fight. All the Russians going out to fight, they were fighting with their gloves on. How are you going to get hurt? They were pawing at one another. When it looked bad, they were wrestling around. The worst part of the whole thing was one of our guys had a Russian, and as the Russian went down, he kicked him in the stomach. Now, that stuff, that guy should really get it.
We're never going to agree on this. The Russians indeed know how to fight. And
I'm not saying it's great, but
somebody could have got hurt.
Absolutely.
All right, Don, let's take a look at the incident that supposedly started this brawl tonight in Piestany. Here it is, Don.
Well, I think it starts when the Russian goalie makes the save, and one of our guys come in. It's been going on and on. A little shot. This is where, well, I don't know, a little shot right here. But just before that, a little shot. Yeah, I see him. He knocks him down. What's the matter with that? There was nothing wrong with that. A little check. Now what happens? Now the guy comes in and gives the guy a little shot. Now, that wasn't much. You see the Russian take the first shot and knock our guy down. Now, there you are. There it is right there. There's 12 pointing at him. He did it. Now, what are you supposed to do to that? The guy was standing there. The guy gave him a shot, knocked him down. So what are you supposed to do?
We've had an interesting call, Don, from a viewer, Don Wittman and Sherry Basson, saying this is the first time they can recall this happening in international hockey. A viewer has called our control center here in Toronto saying that the Soviets were involved in a bench-clearing brawl with the Czechoslovakian team in 1978, 2 years ago in 1984 with the Americans, and both those fights occurred in Prague, Czechoslovakia.
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, the Russians got nothing to lose. They're laughing. I mean, this was planned. There's no doubt about it. The Russian coach, he never fed his players for a couple of days. He'll be drinking water and bread in Siberia after this game. But he's got nothing to lose. Send him out, have a little thing. Canada's going to, I'll tell you, Canada's going to end up at the short end of this, I'll tell you.
I'll tell you something, whichever team left the bench first, the coach is definitely to blame.
Absolutely.
Because in international hockey, we should explain again to the viewers, the players have to go past the coach to get to the ice.
That's the old story. I remember when I was over there in 80 in Sweden, they told me that I had to have the bench in the back and I had to stand in front. We went and got screwdrivers, ripped the thing up, put it in front and stood in back. Because if you've noticed, during the game, the Canadian team is always standing up next to the boards looking out. So you have them for 2 hours standing up looking over the boards. You should always have, you should take those benches up for you coaches that ever go over again. Take them up, put them, stand back like we do, and the guys can hop over and away they go. Sure, it's the Russians' fault. Absolutely. You send the guy on first, he's the guy that should pay.
All right, Don, it is 4-2 for our Canadian juniors over the Soviet Union. I don't care who started it. An ugly, disgraceful incident has disrupted this hockey game. Stay with us. Sports Weekend will continue live right after these messages.
Back at the Piestany Ice Hall, we are just hearing an announcement from Gunter Sabetsky, the president of the International Ice Hockey Federation. He has just said this game is complete. It is over. It will probably go into the books now as a 0-0 tie, and that would mean that Canada would finish with the third-place bronze medal. We just heard the announcement moments ago here. They decided behind closed doors, the officials of the International Ice Hockey Federation were meeting. They were talking to Dennis McDonald, the Director of Operations of Team Canada, and they were talking to other Canadian officials. It was speculated that could be the case. Had it not happened, you could have bet one thing for sure, and that would have been that the Finnish team would have raised holy heck here had the game proceeded, because by international rules, any kind of fighting means automatic banishment for this game and any others that do follow it. However, under the present conditions here, there would have been no players left to go on the ice to finish the game. So, International Ice Hockey Federation President Dr. Gunter Sabetsky has decided that it is no contest, and that means Canada, Don and Sherry, wind up in third place and the bronze medal. Back upstairs to you. All right, Fred. Well, they met for 35 minutes, and I'm not at all surprised, Sherry Basson, at the decision that was arrived at, because as we stated, when the incident broke out, international rules call for automatic disqualification of any player who fights. Obviously, every player was involved on both sides. Both teams had to lose everybody on the ice.
The fans are very disenchanted because they only see a half a hockey game.
And a good hockey game.
And a real good hockey game. The very simple thing is that this is precedent setting without question, and the CBC cameras were here to see it. Canada got a first glimpse at it. I think that's exactly, I think Fred really put it in a nutshell. They had a situation to look at. According to the rules, what are we going to do? If we continue this game, we got a gold medal at stake. Finland is sitting in the driver's seat.
They would have caused an international incident.
What's going to happen here? And I think that they were trying to bounce the balls, and that's what they came up for. The unfortunate fact is that Canada was playing a good hockey game. We're only a couple of goals away at getting really in the hunt that had a lead in this game. We're really concentrating, putting some pressure on, doing some good things, getting technically the inside chances that we talked about. Everything seemed to go for them, and bang, oh, the ship fell apart.
If some humor can be injected into such an incident, I might add that